Welcome back to KHTS Radio. You're currently live with Jade Aubuchon, KHTS co-news director, and I'm joined today by Congressman Mike Garcia, who represents, among other things, the Santa Clarita Valley. How are you today, Mike?
Hey, Jade, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's always good to have you on the air. I know we were talking about it a little bit, but how is this summer heat treating you right now?
Well, it's we're trying to stay cool. Unfortunately, it feels especially hot, but we know this is par for the course for Santa Clarita, and luckily we got some good rain. The bad news is now we're setting ourselves up for a fire season here, so we've got to start getting ready for that.
Oh, yeah. It's always one thing or another here, but we love it.
That's right.
So, you're here with us today to discuss some very exciting things that you've been working on in Washington, including the National Defense Authorization Act and very specifically a historic pay raise for members of our military. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, and just to remind the listeners, the NDAA, or the National Defense Authorization Act, is what authorizes our military spending on an annual basis. So we pass this every year, and this is where the big programs like the stealth bombers and the fighter jets and the submarines are all authorized. And as an appropriator, we have a DoD, Department of Defense appropriation bill that goes with it. And normally the focus is on the equipment, the bombers, the fighters, and the subs, like I talked about. And one of the things that's always bugged me is we really don't focus on our troops and what our troops make. And if you've been paying attention, you'll see over the last couple of years, I've been talking about the fact that our enlisted troops, the folks that come out of high school and join the military, when they first start, they're making about $22,000 a year right now, and this is the equivalent of like $11 an hour when you normalize that for a 40-hour work week. So this is effectively half of what an in-and-out worker makes here in Southern California, the starting salary, and these folks are putting their lives on the line. So what I did was I rewrote the pay tables for the U.S. military and specifically targeting the junior ranks and the enlisted side. These are what we call an E1 through E6. These are the six most junior ranks in our military. And I myself personally went through the military pay tables and rewrote them so that instead of starting at $22,000 a year, they're starting now at $31,200 a year, which still is not a lot of money compared to what these folks are doing and the risks that they're taking for our nation's security. But it at least puts them on par with what their peers are making in the civilian sector as starting wages, and then it goes up from there. So this will be, like you said, it's a historic pay raise, and for an E1, it turns out it's about a 36% pay raise. And that'll be the highest pay increase that our junior enlisted have had in the history of our country. And so I'm proud to have personally written this. We got it passed in the appropriation bill that I'm a part of, and then, like you said, a couple weeks ago, we got it passed in the NDAA. And so this is moving forward, and I think it's going to pass the Senate, and I think it's ultimately going to be signed into law by the president. But we have record low retention right now, or record low recruitment numbers right now, and there's a lot of things that go into that, but the pay is one of the biggest things, and frankly, the pay is one of the things that I can affect most. So super proud of this one. This affects all of us because it's all about national security, and if we have a hard time recruiting kids to join the military and ultimately stay in the military, then it comes at the expense of our collective security. So we're going to keep pushing this, but it's one of these good news, bipartisan support, passed almost unanimously in the House, and in a time of very toxic partisan divides. This is one of the bright lights and good news stories that wasn't sure most people actually got to hear about because the news doesn't cover it. So we appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, of course, Mike. For those of you who are just turned in, I'm currently speaking with Congressman Mike Garcia, who represents the 27th district, I believe now. We just changed that. But
Yep.
just to kind of emphasize what you were talking about here, I was just looking up some stats. And according to a 2018 demographic analysis by the Council on Foreign Relations, over 60% of the 2016 enlistments came from neighborhoods where there's a medium household income between $38,000 and $80,000. So these are kids a lot of the time who are enlisting who come from either poverty or near poverty, and then
That's right.
given the funding that we were giving them, we were essentially keeping them in poverty for
That's
risking
right.
their
Yeah.
lives. And how is
Yeah.
that fair?
Yeah, it's absolutely not fair. I was a naval officer. I was a division officer for. I was in charge of roughly 40 of our sailors, and these kids were anywhere from 18 to 35-year-olds for the most part. Most of them were 18 to 24-year-olds, and at that time, when I was in the service, about a third of the enlisted personnel qualified for food stamps, which is insane. These people are, going on deployment, putting their lives on the line, leaving their families behind, and they qualify for food stamps. That shows you how little we pay our service members. And since I was in, we've got now record high inflation. And the thing that really bugged me was these politicians would stand up and brag about the 3.5% or 4.5% pay raise that they were giving our military. But when you look at, the fact that we're in 7 to 8% inflationary period, they're actually losing money and going deeper into the hole and going even further below the poverty line as a result. So this 36% increase, and it sounds like a lot of, when you put it in percentage, and it is, but even this 36% increase still just gets them to $31,000 starting salary. And there's other benefits to the military. There's a housing allowance. There's meals. There's, service to country, and you build a resume and you get great experiences. And so it's not just about the money, but what we shouldn't ask these folks to make such sacrifices and still be driven into poverty as a result of that. And so we do need to address this pay issue. And it's a record high sort of differential between active military and their civilian counterparts right now when it comes to pay. That's true of all ranks. So this is a big step function in the positive direction to hopefully rectify that.
Yeah, like you're saying, 36% sounds like a lot, but when you're considering almost the retroactive how much it should have been rising, and this doesn't even
That's
necessarily
right.
bring it up to where it should be at. I think
Exactly.
it's not just the military, like it's the constant thing that we're always hearing is that you can work 40 hours a week, but how many people who are, let's say my age or younger, and I'm still in my 20s, we're working two jobs and working more than 40 hours a week, but still can't afford that. But when it can't afford to like live that picket fence life. But when you're talking about members of the military who are direct employees of the government who are protecting our nation, that is where you should definitely have our government leading by example and showing like, hey, yes, this is the greatest country in the world. If we're going to say that, let's show it by supporting the people who help make it that way.
Exactly. Well said. You hit it right on the head.
So that was obviously a very big thing that you have pushed forward, and you've been doing it for a while. I've been seeing all your press releases going into like last year, even talking about all that.
Yep.
Is there anything else in Washington we should be keeping an eye out for from your office?
Well, the other big fight we've got is this war on inflation. You talked about, how hard it is to make ends meet from younger workers all the way up to senior citizens right now. This inflation problem is just eating our lunch, literally. And so we've got to cut the spending, and we're trying to do that in a responsible manner. We're in the midst of all of the appropriation markups, and we're getting some wins out of there for local spending. We've got a bunch of earmarks that just got successfully passed, so we'll be publicizing those earmark victories, these community project funds, literally tens of millions of dollars come into the district because of those earmarks. And but we've got to, at the macro level, control the spending and figure out how to fight this inflation beast and make it so that our working class families can make ends meet once again. It's already hard enough. We don't need to be compounding this interest problem, this inflation problem with higher rates and more cost increases. So that's the fight. That's what we've been doing. I'll stay committed to supporting our military and our law enforcement and the average worker out there and taking care of constituent services. And as always, if folks need help with a federal agency, passports seems to be the issue of the year right now. The State Department's really struggling getting passports out. So if you think you need a passport in the next year or two, please reach out, start that process now. And if it's already expired, reach out to our office and we can help expedite it. But any help with a federal agency that folks need help with, please don't hesitate to reach out to our offices.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For some of our listeners, just as a reminder, we are going to have to start getting some of those real IDs in the state of California soon. And if you have a passport card, it can do something kind of similar. So that is something to keep in mind if it's too hard to get into the DMV, or talk to Mike's office and see what he can do to help. But
yep, that's right.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Mike. This is once again Congressman
you,
Mike Garcia. It's always so good to talk with you. For everybody listening out there, thank you so much for tuning in and staying and hanging out with us here at KHTS FM 98.1 AM 1220. For more info, you can always head on over to hometownstation.com.